What is going on, everybody? I've been getting a lot of questions about ulcerative colitis. As a lot of you know, I suffer from ulcerative colitis. I've had multiple different flare-ups. I've been put on a lot of different medications. I have never been put on biologics yet, but I have been on prednisone, different corticosteroids. They've tried to put me on different immunosuppressants. I've been on a preso for quite a while. And so for those of you out there, I understand your pain. I've been through a lot of pain and heartache because of this disease. And if you want to know more about my story, I'll put some links below where you can learn a little bit more about my relationship with ulcerative colitis and my passion for helping people to get over this disease. I got a note from a gentleman named Michael, and he says, just curious what your symptoms are when you get inflamed, because I've been having stomach issues. No one's able to answer what the problem is. Dairy bothers me, processed foods bother me, high sugar bothers me, and when I have my calories over 2,500, I start to get real sick. When I react, my stomach is distended, my face bloats, I feel swollen, my skin breaks out, I get head fog, I'm irritable and fatigued. Now, you're describing symptoms that look a lot like what I experience when I do have an ulcerative colitis flare-up. And different things that have happened to me over time. Even if I'm not flaring all the way, I do get different types of intestinal discomfort. And a lot of times I'll experience a lot of bloating leading up into a flare-up where I'll be very bloated, or I'll get constipated and I won't be able to go to the bathroom. And then when I start flaring up, all of a sudden I'm running to the bathroom like 30, 40 times a day. These are things that happen to people with gut issues. And I'm not sure whether or not you have ulcerative colitis or not. You would have to get a colonoscopy in order to really determine what's going on, and I'd highly suggest doing so just to check out your colon, see what your colon health is like. I want to address some things as far as alleviating the symptoms and really beginning to take care of yourself if you are afflicted with this disease. Now, I want to say that I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try and pretend to be a doctor or anything like that. If you're on medication, if you're taking certain things, you really cannot come off of most of the medications that are prescribed to you with ulcerative colitis without having some severe side effects. For instance, I've been on prednisone, and in order to come off of prednisone, you have to titrate down. It's just like prednisone is actually a hormone. You're putting something in your body that mimics cortisol. And just as if you were taking testosterone or something like that, you really need to titrate yourself down. Otherwise, you could be in a world of hurt. My doctor didn't titrate me down correctly last time, and I experienced immense sickness. My joints swelled up. I was getting all types of hot flashes. My glands started swelling. You know, I was sick. I felt like I had a hangover all the time. So don't just come off of your medications. Similarly, if you're trying to come off of something like a preso or Wawasa, which is there to shut down inflammation, you don't want to just jump off of that because you could definitely send yourself into a flare-up. But what medical science has neglected in a lot of ways is the role of nutrition and the role that nutrition plays in ulcerative colitis and us being more resilient and being able to overcome something like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's or any other autoimmune disease that's not necessarily related to the gut, like multiple sclerosis, like rheumatoid arthritis, like lupus. All of these are autoimmune diseases, and specific class of those are what you call inflammatory bowel diseases, and those are Crohn's, colitis, and I think there's several others that I can't remember right off the top of my head. If you're experiencing any of these, the biggest things you need to begin to think about are your digestion, and that's whether you have an inflammatory bowel disease or not. 2, your nutrient density, how how much nutrition you're getting in your body. And what I mean by nutrition are the vitamins, the minerals, and the different things that are going to help your body to run more efficiently. And then, the next thing you really need to be concerned about, and what all this plays into, is your cellular health, your mitochondrial density. There's been a lot of work being done on cellular health and mitochondrial density and longevity recently, and there's so much work. One really good book that you should all check out is this one. It's called The Walls Protocol. Dr. Terry Walls had multiple sclerosis, and she got to the point where she was in a reclined wheelchair. And this was a lady who was a world champion in Taekwondo. She rode her bike. She was very, very active. She was a medical doctor, and she was diagnosed with MS and completely lost the control of her body and the functions of her body. And she was resigned to a wheelchair. And she decided that she was not going to live like that. And she put countless hours of research into understanding how she could fight that disease. And what she came to was a version of the paleo diet. And in fact, she has 3 different versions of the paleo diet. She has her standard Walls diet, the Walls Paleo, and the Walls Paleo Plus, I think it's called. And each of these diets are based on putting good nutrients into your body, taking care of your gut health, promoting a healthy gut microbiome, battling the inflammation that's causing the disease. Each of these autoimmune diseases is caused by inflammation, and the inflammation arises because our cellular health isn't good and we do not have good mitochondrial function. So the biggest action points I can give you are, one, besides reading this book, the other thing that we have with our Warrior Soul Keto Camp newsletter is a grocery list that has an autoimmune protocol in it. And what we're talking about there is loading up your diet with green leafy vegetables, right? I suggest they actually be steamed because that will help with their digestibility. Also eating high sulfur vegetables, right? Making sure that you're getting enough sulfur into your body. And then when you're eating your meats, you really want to go for grass-fed meats rather than going for something like a factory-raised cattle steak or something like that. And I've been seeing this over and over again on this channel. That's because grass-fed meats, they don't have as much omega-6 as a factory-raised meat does. Those factory-raised meats are loaded with omega-6, which actually will raise your levels of inflammation and will make it more likely that you're going to go into a flare-up. Beyond that, you really want to be looking, she's a very big advocate for organ meats. Eating your liver and onions, eating kidneys, eating heart, things like that. These organ meats, since ancient times, have been coveted for their nutritional density. Liver, grass-fed beef liver, is one of the most nutritionally dense foods you can eat. And again, you really want to be taking care of your micronutritional density, eating lots of dark colored fruits, dark colored vegetables, and including those in your diet as well. And then making sure that you're taking care of your gut health. You really want to be including fermented foods like kombucha and things like that. Now, you mentioned that when you go over 2,500 calories, it tends to get worse. That's when you tend to jump into a flare-up and your brain fogs up. And the reason for that is probably a high level of insulin and really inefficient blood sugar metabolism. And I can't say for certain because I can't look at your blood test. I can't see what your hemoglobin A1C is, but I would definitely try to get your blood work done, get your hemoglobin A1C checked, and I would also get an inflammatory marker test. Make sure that you're going and getting your C-reactive protein tested out. And if that's too high, then again, it's probably some sort of autoimmune or inflammatory bowel disease that you've got going on there. Beyond that, on a real human level here, I know I tend to talk like a robot sometimes when I start talking about science, but I do feel what you guys are going through. This type of disease, when you get it, it can literally take away any bit of self-esteem you have. It can take away any bit there's kids outside. It can take away any bit of confidence you have, and it can really take away your zest for life. But know that there are answers out there. I battled for a long time just on medication without really paying attention to these aspects of the diet. I was always into lifting weights, always into looking good, so I followed a bodybuilding diet that really didn't work for me. And if you're out there and you're trying to do the whole iron game thing, and you're trying to do a bodybuilding diet while you have ulcerative colitis, you really need to be paying more attention to these health factors, these wellness factors that are going to help you to get toward better cellular health, better gut health, and to live a healthier life in general. But just know that there are answers out there. There's a lot you can do to try to alleviate these symptoms and to put your life on track. And if you have any other questions, just let me know. Also, I'll put a link below where you can sign up for the Warrior Soul Keto Camp newsletter. We give out a free keto adaptation guide, but also a free grocery list that has an autoimmune protocol on it. You can get that 100% free, no strings attached or anything like that. And my buddy Matt Cooper and Matt is a nutritionist and a biohacker from up in Silicon Valley. He's also my co-author on Warrior Soul Keto Camp. We're going to be doing a free webinar almost every Sunday, every weekend, and I'll have the link below. So regardless if you're watching this a year from now, 2 years from now, that link will always lead to the next webinar sign up for us. So if you come on one of our live webinars, we'll be able to answer that question for you, and or any questions you have about anything for you, about this or about ketosis or about fitness in general. Okay, so regardless of everything else, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I hope you guys have a good evening. Thank you for listening to me. Sorry this video was so long, but there's a lot of stuff and I could have spent an hour. Definitely check this book out, The Walls Protocol by Dr. Terry Walls.